Hi everyone, and welcome to Tap Into Your Creativity. I hope this time works. I'm waiting for Carolyn Millar to join us all the way from Glasgow. She was having trouble, I don't know why. Hello everyone. And I'm just waiting for, I'm just hoping this will work, you guys. For some reason, I didn't pop up as going live on her Instagram, so I'm just hoping that she can hear me and she can come in. And so I'm sorry it's taking a little bit of patience here on your side. I don't know. Okay, hold on, guys. Carolyn, if you can hear me, just request to go live with me. Maybe you're using a different account. I'm not sure. Here we go. I'm gonna request Carolyn to come live with me, so hopefully she'll join us real soon. And
oh, I need to turn my camera around. Okay, how do I do this?
Okay, there's like little
Oh,
arrows.
little ones. Hi, yeah.
Oh.
I'm in my kitchen. It's never looked so tidy. So that could have been so much worse.
Oh, I'm just excited that you're here. I'm sorry, guys, that it took us a little bit to figure this out, but
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
I don't know what happened. But Carolyn, thank you so much for joining my army of artists and for being here and
My pleasure.
for being you. Really, you're just an incredible human being. I've just gotten to know you, and I feel like we are kindred spirits in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, right back at you.
Yes. So, Carolyn, where are you? And please tell us, where you are now and a little bit of
Okay.
your backstory, please.
Okay, so I'm in my kitchen in my flat in Glasgow, in Scotland. I can't do this from my studio because I think we spoke and I don't have Wi-Fi. And my studio is really tiny anyway, so there wouldn't be much to show you. My backstory, I suppose, is that do you want to know how I kind of got into being an artist? Is that
Well, let's just start from like the beginning, like when you were a child, and were
okay?
you always excited about the arts? Was it something that was
I
did
was.
your parents, did they push you to go to the art world or creative side of yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess.
Yeah, never pushed, but encouraged. Um, as a child, I just loved making things. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, who was a dressmaker, and her way of kind of playing was to make something. So we would, make dolls' clothes, or I could knit at a ridiculously young age. I don't ever remember not knowing how to do it. And it's only when you get to a certain stage in life that you look back and you realise how much of an influence that she was on me. I loved, I don't know, I remember my mum buying me these little books about kind of Degas and Van Gogh at an age when other kids were reading comics, and I was looking through these, books about Egon Schiele and David Hockney and what have you. I loved art at school. That was the place where I felt most at home. Brilliant art teachers. That was my kind of thing, and I always did sort of really well at it. And I wanted to go to art school. From a really young age, I wanted to go to art school. I wanted to be a fashion designer, which is kind of funny because I just wear the same clothes all the time now. But when I was younger, I was really into making clothes and designing them and things. And just sort of the school that I was at, the art teachers were amazing. And really what happened is once you got into sixth year, which I don't know how this translates into the American system, but it's the kind of final year of high school, that would have been the year that you would work on your portfolio.
Yeah, your
But
senior year.
you see, I had a bursary to my school. It was a kind of fee-paying school, and I was there in a bursary, and the bursary ran out the year before. So I didn't get to do a sixth year, and I went to a further education college instead. And it was just like night and day. The art teacher was just mean, and we had to all use the same kind of paint. These paints that like kiddies use in sort of kindergarten, like the
Yeah.
blocks, like
Yes.
that's what we
Yes.
had to use. And she wouldn't let us use anything else. And I'd been to a girls' school. I wasn't used to boys in the class, and rather than you know, my art room in school was full of just, you know, lots of fascinating things. It was just an amazing place to be. And in this college, you go in and it was just like a plain classroom with seats all, you know, desks all in a row, and the teacher at the front kind of, I don't know what she was doing exactly, but you'd be given these projects to do. You didn't ever seem to paint in the class. You would just go home and do something. And basically you were just asked to kind of copy the kind of impressionists or whatever. And then you'd come in with your paintings and you'd put them on the wall according to merit. So the first one, the best one would be at the top and the worst one would be right down at the bottom. And I'd never experienced anything like that before.
That sounds brutal. That's terrible.
I was like, I'm not having this. It was just terrible. And I didn't stay. and I didn't go to art school.
Oh, you didn't? Was that actually a factor that made you decide not to? Because of
Yeah,
that
I mean,
teacher?
it just didn't happen. I just didn't have a portfolio. I wanted to go to Glasgow Art School, which has a really good reputation, and what I did submit was just not, you know, just wasn't good enough. But I had been, I'd been working as a florist since I was 15. My parents had a greengrocers and a sort of flower shop, and I was like the artistic one. So I was trained up to be, it's a shame my sister is incredibly creative, but I was the one that was kind of picked, you know. So I was trained as a florist from the age of 15. And so when I didn't get into art school, I decided that's what I was going to do instead. And so I worked for a florist, as a florist for about 25 years,
Wow.
whilst doing other things at the same time. So that was always something that I did. I had my own flower shop when I was, I think, 19, which is a bit, I don't really know what I was
You were
doing.
so young.
I was so
Wow.
young. I couldn't even drive. I used to go to the market to buy the flowers with one of the people that worked there. Like I would get a lift with him at sort of 5 a.m, and I would come back in a taxi with my flowers. And I did it for, well, I did learn to drive. I had a flower shop for 3 years. And then somebody kind of actively put me out of business by undercutting me massively. And I moved to London and I worked as a florist in London. Doing
How was
kind
that
of-
experience of you? Is that the first time that you actually moved to London?
Yeah, yeah. So I can't remember how old, sort of, oh, I don't know, 23, something like that.
Right.
And I worked, you can be a freelance florist and you go and you work for different companies that do big kind of decorating jobs. So we'd go and decorate these incredible, you know, venues, and it was really great to be part of a kind of team that would go around and do this. I absolutely loved it. It was very different from working in a flower shop. But I got to the stage where I just thought, oh, I just quite like to do something else other than just spend my life doing flowers. And on a complete whim, I mentioned this to somebody I was working with, and they said, why don't you do landscape architecture? And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And literally went to the library, because that's how you got information in those days, and found a book about degree courses and found that you could do landscape architecture in a, well, it was a polytechnic at the time, it became university, just outside London. And I literally phoned them up and said, I've got an art hire and I work with flowers. And they went, just come along. That was how easy it was to get in.
Oh my
And
gosh, you were so lucky.
mean, total whim, and, you know, just turned up. I mean, it's just like, that doesn't, nowadays you have to write personal statements and, you know, you have to jump through hoops to get into a university course. And yeah, they were just like, yeah, come along. I probably filled their like mature student quota or something. I was 26 at this point. And the first part of the degree, the first half of the first year of the degree was combined with the architecture course. And it was a kind of like a spatial design. It wasn't specific to landscaping and it wasn't really specific to architecture. They were teaching us about how to
They
create
were
a sense
teaching you
of
how
place.
how to draft, how to draft
Yeah.
floor plans. And
Yeah,
things.
how to, it was all done by hand,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
to do axonometrics and all these kind of things.
Yeah,
And make
yeah.
models. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But what I didn't love was the second half of the year when they actually started teaching us about landscaping, because it wasn't, I think I'd have liked it better if it was like landscape gardening where you're actually working with plants and flowers. This was being trained how to plan the sort of sidings on motorways, or, you know, the car park around a shopping centre. And I was just like, I don't think this is for me, you know. But I had a portfolio then. So I had a really good portfolio because actually I was really hardworking and I you know, I did kind of well. And so I thought maybe I could use this portfolio to go somewhere else. So I started the second year when I decided that actually, I just don't know this is for me. And I phoned up Chelsea College of Art and Design, which I had heard of in London, and they did interior design, which I just thought I'll do that instead. And I phoned them up and they said, yeah, come along, come along, bring your portfolio. And they said, yeah, you can start, you can go into second year, but I actually decided to go into first year and do the whole thing. And so I was there for 3 years, I think it was, and absolutely loved that. I just absolutely loved it. Learned to design and to, be given a project and fulfill the brief and what have you. But it never really occurred to me that I was actually going to go and be an interior designer. I just loved being a student.
Well, if you hear yourself, you're connecting all the dots, right?
You're joining all the dots, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
And it sounds like I don't stick at things, but actually I was a florist for 25 years and I've done other things which I've done like for 15 years, so I do, and I did that course and I loved it. But when I finished, because I'd done flowers all the way through, like in my Saturday job or whatever in the holidays, I just carried on doing that. And I had got together at that point with my kid's dad, and I was pregnant, and we got married. And I did get a job as an interior designer because somebody contacted the college and said, we're looking for an assistant. And they kind of said,
this was still in London when this happened?
This was still in London, yeah.
Okay.
So this was in 1995. And I worked for this company for 6 months and realised how completely unprepared I was for it, because what you learn, is not necessarily. So the first day there, they were like, "Can you put together the specification for this signage?" And I was like, "No, I can plan a huge big kind of sort of thing for you, but I can't tell you the details." We didn't ever do any detailing, but I stuck it and I did it and I learned loads. And then I left when I was so big that I couldn't get behind my drawing board, and I had my son sort of 2 weeks after in the August, and then we were living in London with the baby and not enough money, and we decided to move to Glasgow, which is where I'm from. And we came up to Glasgow and still had no money and still had a baby because he came to, and we kind of struggled. We really struggled, really struggled. And I thought, well, we have to do something. And I decided, well, I know how to do flowers. So at the time, dried flowers were really fashionable, and I don't think they really are now, but in those days they were. And I had been trained to work with them, and so we borrowed a wee bit of money from my mum, and I bought some dried flowers and kind of made them into, sort of different sort of sculptures and things, and sold them in a sort of quite smart sort of shopping centre in Glasgow. We kind of hired a cart and filled it with all this stuff, and did that, and then opened a shop. And we had this shop for a long time, and to bring in other things to kind of sell, we started selling like organic cosmetics and toiletries. And because I thought I really need to find out what I'm selling, I went and trained as an aromatherapist. And this is really funny. I didn't know that if you went and trained as an aromatherapist, it was actually a massage course. So I turned up thinking that they were just going to teach me about essential oils and like my take clothes off. So I trained as an aromatherapist, and I also was really interested in nutrition, and I studied nutrition. So while we were running this business, and I'd done wedding flowers as well through that business, when I think about it now, and I used to do things like I'd spend the evenings making little kids' hats, and then I would sell them in the shop the next day. It was just anything to try and kind of, make a living. And I trained as a nutritionist, and I also trained as a hypnotherapist and a cognitive behavioural therapist. And
I mean,
my art just went.
Do you understand how many
jobs you've had?
how many hats you've put in
I
your
know.
life? I mean,
It's insane.
it's actually insane. Like the fact that you have all this interest and you have put yourself through it all to make a living.
Absolutely,
it's so
yeah.
inspiring that
Well,
you're doing what you must do in a way.
yeah.
But on the other hand, I think it's your thrive for life and for stepping forward and doing what you need to do, but also intersecting what you love doing somehow. And so I think that you have this spark to be a student,
I like
and
things.
learn different
Yeah,
venues and then put them all together, which is
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, no, I have really, really poor general knowledge, but I like to take something and kind of drill down with it and get to know as much as I can about it. And I think I don't know, I was brought up to be very kind of enterprising. My family went through, a sort of massive shift in our kind of family life. When I was 9, my dad was diagnosed as being manic depressive and like full on highs and lows. And, you know, just everything changed after that, and our house was repossessed, and my mum is just one of these people like, well, you just go on with it, and you just find a solution. There's always a solution, and that's a kind of mantra, is there's always a solution. So I kind of live by that. But I did go, I've got 2 boys, so they're now 26 nearly and 23, and their dad and I, the marriage ended, probably because, as you can imagine, it was pretty stressful. And I wasn't in a very good way at all. I was just mentally not very good, and physically I wasn't very good. I was incredibly thin. I mean, I'm not that big anyway, but I was even thinner. And I think the things that I was attracted to, like nutrition, and it was actually because I needed that. And by going and learning those things, you actually get a huge amount of benefit from it yourself. But I remember going to this kind of retreat weekend, run by an amazing woman and her husband, and you did all sorts of things like Tai Chi and yoga and different things. And one of the things that they got us to do was they gave us these little tiny tiles, just, like maybe 4-inch square tiles. And they were in this beautiful kind of country house with lovely wooden floors and everything. And they put this big kind of drop cloth over the floor. And they gave us these tiles, and they came in with paints. And they said, right, just take a tile and just paint it. And this was the first time that I'd done anything like that for years. And I just remember like being on the floor, picking these colours, and I decided to do this tile to kind of represent how I felt about my children. So it was a kind of non-objective, it was like an abstract sort of thing, which was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, because at school it was all painting kind of books and still lifes and that sort of thing. And I just remember there was about maybe 20 or 30 people in the room, and they just all disappeared in my mind because I was just so focused on what I was doing. And afterwards, I'd made this thing, and I was like, I really like that. I was really pleased with it. It's a tiny wee thing. I just thought, oh, I made this, and it just felt so good to have made something, And afterwards, one of the guys who was kind of running the course came up to me and he said, you were like an 8-year-old. And I said, yeah, I was. I was like, I was 8 years old. And it was like that part of me that loved to make things had just suddenly kind of come back. And that was when I kind of realised that she'd gone. I didn't even really realise that she wasn't around for so many years. But when she came back and I made this thing, I remember thinking, oh, I felt quite sad that I'd kind of lost connection with that part of myself. I think this probably happens to a lot of people. And you'd think that, well, I then started painting, but I didn't, because I was just going through such a difficult time that there was just so many other things to, kind of deal with.
That's so interesting that you didn't, because it sounds like it was so therapeutic for you.
Yeah.
And it was a way of just letting go and not thinking, but just doing and being in this like tunnel of an exercise that took you to a whole different place.
Yeah.
And
it was really mindful and just...
Yes, it was very mindful because you knew what you were trying to convey. You had a very small piece to do it on. And right. And so I think that I'm surprised that you didn't pick it up from there.
I think it was probably because when I was doing that, I was kind of away in this place, like being in a bubble for a sort of weekend, and then you go back to real life, and then there's lots of other things. And I used to work long hours, and you got 2 children, and I just didn't seem to make any difference long term. Mm-hmm. And really, and that would have been, I don't know what year that was, to be honest, maybe 2008 when I was at that retreat.
Yeah.
And it was 2000 and maybe 14 before I actually decided to search out an art class. And I went to these classes, which the person that ran them was absolutely lovely and a very good teacher, but it was very much the paint what you see kind of philosophy. I didn't realise at the time, but I don't want to paint what I see, I want to paint what I feel.
Right.
And so I went to classes and I kind of did the work, but it didn't spark anything. There was wasn't sparking joy, as they say. Well, sorry, this is my stepson coming into the kitchen. Probably looking for something to eat. So I did some of these classes, and I don't know, it just didn't do anything. And I actually went on a kind of week-long kind of holiday to Spain with this person who was doing the teaching. Lots of people went, and the stuff that I did over the course of the week ended up in somebody else's suitcase, and I didn't get it back, and I didn't even care. Because I didn't even, it just meant nothing to me at all.
Well, you had no connection that way.
No, it didn't. It just didn't move me at all. And so I started going to those classes, and then it was probably maybe a year or so after that, I just kept thinking, when we were at school, just the way that we worked was very different, and you worked from life, and it was just much more kind of creative to me. And so I thought there has to be somebody else that's doing some sort of class like that. And I went online and I found this woman teaching a class. Her name's Mayburn. She's amazing. And she is a landscape artist, and she had this class called Wild Landscapes. And the idea was that she was teaching you how to be playful and to make marks and to do monoprinting and to, paint with your non-dominant hand. And I absolutely loved it. And I loved it so much that I did her class like about 3 times. I just kept going back and and I was just in heaven. I would just go, in the 3 hours would just go like that, and I'd be like, oh, art class tomorrow. I'd be so excited about it. But I would produce all these little kind of sketches of landscapes, and I loved the process. But when May would say, right, Caroline, now you're going to do like a proper painting, I would just freeze. I just go, no, I can't wait. Don't waste a canvas on me. I can't, I'll stick to painting on, lining paper for walls or whatever. And I would bring the paintings home, and I just put them in a drawer under the wardrobe. Didn't paint at home. Didn't really occur to me to do that. But I did start an Instagram account. And I started an Instagram account, and I started putting photographs of these little paintings onto Instagram. And I would say things like, charcoal, 6-inch square, and I'd be I was anything else. I was like, I just played very small, and my kind of thing said Caroline Miller plays with paint and thread. I used to do kind of stitch things as well. And because you put stuff on Instagram that shows that you're interested in art, you then get adverts. And so Nicholas Wilton turned up on my feed, and the wonderful Nicholas Wilton. And I wouldn't even say I did his workshop. I just watched the workshop. And it's just like all these things just went click. I thought, yeah, I get what he's talking about, and this makes perfect sense, and I like the way that he delivers it. And then, of course, once you've gone through the free workshop, it's like, oh, and here's the course, which for anybody that doesn't know, it's the Creative Visionary Programme, CVP, which is a 3-month really intensive teaching programme. And I thought, oh, I'd love to do that. That would be amazing. But, I mean, didn't feel that it was for me at that time, because I just was making these wee tiny things. But I thought maybe next year. So another year goes past, and I still have never painted at home. I didn't even really own any paints. I just had a wee set that I bought out of the local kind of stationers. And then
but then when you decide to start CVP, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're like immersed for 12 weeks in this very rigorous program.
Yeah.
And
it's full on.
And you have to, you kind of have
to
step
buy
up,
paint.
right? You have to buy paint, you have to buy
paint.
boards, you have to, you just have to show up and do the work, or at least, get immersed in this community of artists, which is incredible.
You've got to go all in, or there's really no point. Really no point.
Right.
So the next year comes around, which now we're in 2020, and it comes up again.
Is right before COVID.
This is before COVID.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, I'd love to do this course. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do more art for a year, and then next year I'll do this course. And he, God love him, said, why would you do that? If you think he's a really good teacher that can teach you a lot, why would you wait another year? Why would you not do it just now? And I had savings, and he said, you've got money, just do it. And that was all the encouragement I needed, so I pressed the button. I signed up at the very last minute. And, you know, I mean, you've done CVP, Sandra, so you know, in the beginning, you're not painting, you're doing these kind of vision boards and what have you. And for me, the biggest thing on my vision board was that I wanted to be able to call myself an artist, because I didn't at that point. And so I put all these things on my vision board, and then across the front of it in big red letters, it said, I'm an artist and I friggin' rock. And I just decided I'm going to just keep saying this to myself. And
so it was more of an affirmation for you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wrote it down in different places. I was going to say I used it as password. I don't anymore. But I did for a while, so I kept typing into my computer. And I was working at a clinic, so I was seeing clients as a nutritionist. And I closed that on the 17th of March because people were coming in and coughing all over the place, and I didn't know how to keep people safe. And I just thought, no, I had to stop. And then we went into lockdown in this country on the 23rd of March. And I just painted, and I painted every single day. And I was going to put a shelf in the kitchen and paint like a 12-inch deep shelf, and that was where I was going to do CVP. And I realised quite quickly that wasn't going to work. So my husband and I rearranged the living room, and he gave me his desk, and I was in one corner painting away, and he was working in the other corner tapping away at his keyboard. And we just, were like that for months. And as I don't know, this sounds ridiculous, but I just decided that I was going to call myself an artist, because I felt that there's an 8-year-old inside of me that wants to be an artist. And if I call her an artist, she will step up, and that's what she will do. And if I say, you can't call yourself an artist, you're not good. She's just going to go and hide in a cupboard again, which is what she'd done for like 15 years or so. So I felt quite strongly that I had to encourage that part of myself to be able to come forward and do that. And so it was quite a big day when I changed my Instagram to say artist, and I started posting things, and I started writing more, and just thought, I'm not going to do this sort of putting myself down and not believing in myself. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to believe in myself. And when I look at what's happened in the last year, it's quite amazing. It's really, really amazing.
This is when you actually say things into the world, and you put, and we're going to talk about this, what the morning pages have done for you, and how you're putting yourself and writing things to believe in them and to put them out, and that energy goes out into the world, and it just comes right back. And
I absolutely believe that.
I think with hard work and dedication and believing in yourself and saying all these affirmations every single day, it helps you so much to become a better person. By becoming a better person, then you become a better artist, a better mother, a better partner, a better, just it just floats, all over. And so it's remarkable. Your story is truly so inspirational.
Thank you. Well, I do believe that nobody benefits when somebody's unhappy. And I was doing a job that I was doing really well, but it was just, I felt like I was just dying inside. And I would go to work and do a really good job, and then I'd come home and think, please don't make me go back there. It was almost like I was like two people. So one person would go and do it really well, and the other person would just go, please, please. And so when the opportunity came to not do it again, I just couldn't get out there fast enough. But my plan was to go back. I didn't think that I would ever go back. But it got to about July time, and I just thought, I don't ever want to do that again. I want to paint. This is what I want to do, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want it to be something that I do in the future. I want to do it now. Definitely.
So I think it all came into overcoming all the steps and all your life decisions that you had to you have to go through in order to get to the moment that you are now and the way you're feeling now, because your artwork is actually showing exactly what you're feeling inside. So, and I know you like problem solving, and this is a really great way to do that. And when it happens, it's such a win. So before we go into the morning pages, because I'm super excited about that, will you show us on your kitchen table what you have? what I have? Okay, this is a little bit of your work, so we can see your work and the materials and things that you have that you like and your inspirations.
Well, I don't have much because
I know
all my work is in a gallery in London.
Yay!
But I know I've put together a few things. So this is a, I don't know, where do I have to sit? We can see that.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
everything will be back to front, isn't it? So that's a small piece. I did that just after CVP. And I'm kind of quite fascinated by kind of aerial photography. And also by what you see really close up when you look at sort of age-worn surfaces. So I'm not doing it deliberately, that's just what kind of comes out when I'm painting. So that's one there.
It's the language of non-objective art. That's what it is.
Non-objective, yeah. I mean, I don't think of it as abstraction, although I will use that word because people kind of recognise it. But I'm not abstracting something. I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just happens. It's just whatever.
Right. And
it's a response.
Non-objective art has, it's not that it doesn't have a significance. It has a lot of underlining.
Yeah.
It has a lot of language. It has, anything from organic to very structural to communities to just, it's fascinating to me what a non-objective art can do for the viewer and for ourselves.
Yes, and I don't know how you feel, Sandra, but I feel like I don't expect everybody to like my work.
No.
I actually kind of expect lots of people not to get it, but my hope is that some people will absolutely get it, and I've seen that. I've seen, people just kind of like really respond to it so well, but I don't expect everybody to do that. So I'm kind of like, I'm just doing it for me, and if other people respond to it, then that's brilliant.
And that's also, I think it comes with time and maturity, and because I think that when you lower your expectations, then anything that comes to you is fantastic.
Yes.
When you're, you know what I mean? When your expectations are super high, no one is going to meet that. I'm not ever going to meet those expectations. So I have learned through the years to lower those expectations, and then anything that comes to me, I feel it's a win.
Absolutely, yeah. I just realised I've read my faces. I think I've been blushing for about 40 minutes. I didn't know that was possible.
You can't. Okay, let's keep showing your work.
This is another small one from just after CVP. So that's another 12 by 12 board that I did. And the other small one I've got is really different. This is quite a recent one. This is not even finished, but it's a lot more graphic and a lot more bold. But they've always got my writing in them from morning pages, and usually some newsprint as well. But that's the only real kind of collage elements that I use that are kind of obvious. I might use kind of collage papers.
Acrylic. You use
acrylic,
drawing tools. You use collage paper.
Well, I make collage paper, but all I'm really doing is just painting bits of paper. I don't do any sort of patterns or anything like that on it. It's just a kind of quicker way to get the paint onto the painting. So I don't really think of it as collage, because you wouldn't necessarily, when you look at it, know whether I've painted it or whether I've painted a bit of paper and stuck it on. But it's kind of the same thing.
I think your sister was just in here, and she just said that.
My sister,
I think so, because she said that you're a very big inspiration in her life. So how nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know, we have this kind of tradition now that because I walk to my studio, which takes me about half an hour, and Ali, my sister, she lives miles from here, and I've only seen her once in the last year, but we're seeing each other next week. And she'll walk her dog, and she'll phone me, and we chat on the way to work. And it's a bizarre thing. Like, when I look back on what this last year has been like, I actually feel much closer to some people that I haven't even seen, because just having that kind of connection, which we wouldn't normally have done, but we've kind of made a point of doing it, so we've become a lot closer. And then, of course, I now have this whole kind of load of friends from all over the world.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Like,
it's very strange. It's been in lockdown and then suddenly feel connected with all these other people. It's been incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, and such amazingly kind, supportive people. Just, it's blown my mind.
I agree. And so you have the piece that we're going to donate today. So if anyone is interested in purchasing this incredible piece of artwork from Carolyn, we are asking $250. It's going 100% of the proceeds will go to Feeding America. And your sister.
I'm not usually like this. I'm usually very, I can't decide which way up I like it. And it's in a frame and it would be changeable. The person could turn it around. So I think I prefer it this way, but it's going to look back to front to you. If I come closer, you can maybe see all the kind of detail.
So if you are interested in purchasing this incredible piece of artwork, again, we're asking 250 people. You would be helping 2,500 meals by purchasing this incredible painting. So DM me or Caroline. Seriously, it's just so gorgeous. And we, as a community of artists with my army of artists, we have raised so much money.
It's amazing what you've done.
We're close to getting to 290,000 meals, which is incredible. And I just want to keep going and keep helping people in need and putting artists like you in the spotlight that deserve to be seen and for people to know you. So hopefully someone will buy today, and so let us know.
I've called it From Scotland with Love, which I'd like to say that I made that up, but I didn't. I stole it from a film, which is the most beautiful film that was made in 2014 when we had the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. And it's made with just footage taken from archive footage of ordinary people doing ordinary things in Scotland. And the reason it came into my head was that there's a scene, or the music that goes along with it. So there's no narration, it's just music that's been written for it. It's just beautiful. And when I saw outside in a park in a bandstand, and the musicians played solidly for 75 minutes in time to the film. It's the most moving thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
And there's one song which is called Miserable Strangers, and it's about people leaving Scotland and going to America or Canada. And there's footage of people, getting onto ships, waving goodbye to their relatives, and you think because this would have been like maybe 50s or so, they're not going to see them again. They can't do Skype. They can't. Nobody's going to jump on a flight.
I love the title. I really do.
So that's what the film's called. So I thought it was quite appropriate. So it's called.
I love it, Carolyn. I love it. So let's talk about Morning Pages and what it is and how it has transformed your life.
Okay, so Morning Pages, for anyone who's not heard of it, though a lot of people have, was devised by Julia Cameron, who is a screenwriter, but also I think she writes musicals and does all sorts of things. And she's
an author. She's a
phenomenal.
She's an everything, and she wrote the book called The Artist's Way.
Yes, so she wrote The Artist's Way, and her story was that she had become kind of blocked creatively, and she took herself off to some cabin, the foot of a mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere, to write, and she just couldn't. And so what she would do is she would get up every morning and she would just get, I don't know, what do you call this in America? We call this like A4 foolscap paper. I don't know what you would call it.
I mean, I think it's your journal,
Yeah. So she would take that and she would just do free writing until she'd written 3 pages, and then she would stop. And over time, she became unblocked, and she's just like a sort of, it's like a fire hydrant of creativity. And she realised that it wasn't just her that would benefit from that. And in the book, The Artist's Way, there's a bit more to it. So you go on a kind of artist walk, and you take yourself on an artist date, and you do different things. It's a long time since I read the book, so I'm probably talking nonsense now. But I wrote a blog post about this, and in 2014, I was at a party, and I'd read the book, but I'd never actually done it.
We might have a buyer, Miriam. Thank you so much. Miriam, if you
Amazing.
DM
Thank you.
me, I will give you just the information as to where to send the money. You will send the money directly to Fitting America. But after this interview, I will reach out. But please, you reach out to me because I'm not sure if I have your information. So make sure you DM me right now so I know who you are. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah, so 2014, so I'd read the book, hadn't done any of the writing, but I had done kind of writing when I was seeing a therapist, and they had got me to do writing, so I kind of knew the benefit of it. And I was at this party, and this woman was talking about how things were going really well for her and how she had been doing this thing called Morning Pages, and I was like, oh, tell me all about it. And I went home that night and I just got a pad like that and started writing, and I wrote every single morning. It takes about, 20 minutes or something. Did it every single morning, and I did it for 6 months. And then I was on holiday with my, well, he's now my husband, but he's my boyfriend at the time. And it just felt a bit weird to be going, I'm just going to do my writing. So I just stopped and I never went back to it. And it was only, in hindsight, those 6 months, I basically met the love of my life, having had 50 years or so of, this is including childhood, like not being good at relationships, like I'm not, I didn't have a good track record. And I just met this most amazing man who was just like a fantastic fit. And I'd sold my house and been able to buy 2 flats, which I rented one out, gave me an income, and just so much had changed in that 6 months. So that was in 2015 when I stopped. And then I started again. I don't know why. I think Sally Ann Ashley and I were chatting about it or something like that. And we were chatting about it and I was like, yeah, I used to do that. And so I started it again on May the 7th last year. And when I did it before, I was going to work, and this time I'm not going to work, but I still would make time for it regardless of what I was doing, because the benefits are just amazing. It's meditation, it's a form of meditation. But if you say to somebody, meditate, that's a difficult thing to do, because normally meditation is about focus and about, controlling your thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But just write on a piece of paper. We can all do that. But what happens is that when you're writing, you're not thinking about what you're going to write and then writing it down. You're literally, whatever thought is in your head kind of comes out onto the paper via the pen. There's no punctuation, grammar doesn't matter, there's no capital letters, it's just free writing. And if you don't know what to write, you just say, I don't know what to write. I should really get up and put a washing on, but I'm here writing this. It doesn't matter. So what happens then is that your writing speeds up and your thoughts slow down. So when I'm doing it, I will be thinking at this speed, because that is the speed I can write at. And your writing becomes this. And so you're doing that for...
Oh, there's Sally Ann.
Sally Ann, we're just talking about you. So your writing speeds
asking,
up.
What do you write about? Like,
what do I write about?
Yeah, what is it? Someone is interested in, and they're interested in the process, and they want to know kind of like what you write.
I write whatever comes into my head, but if there was something that was bothering me, which actually doesn't happen very much just now, but if there was something that's bothering me, I might have a little bit of a moan about it, and then I would respond to that as if I was being my own kind of best friend. So it's about showing empathy to yourself. So I might kind of say, yeah, that's not been very good, but look at it like this, and I would be reframing it. So that's one thing that I will do when I'm writing.
Do you only write about your artistic process, or is it completely
I write about anything? Sometimes I'm working out mortgage repayments, or I'm working out like just plans of things that I'd like to do. I don't really write about my art process, but I write about my art career. I write about, there's just so much gratitude that I write about. So I'll write, it's just like, thank you for this, thank you for that, and I'm so grateful for this, I'm so grateful for that. And it just puts you into that kind of frame of mind. So you get up in the morning going, wow, life just seems so much better. Always, if there's something that you would like to bring into your life, you write about it as if it's actually happened. So you don't say, like, for example...
so, like, it just happened to you. So let's concrete the example, because you're in a show in a gallery in London. I mean, that's huge. That is huge for someone that came out of, 20... I mean, you've been really practicing as an artist for a short period of time. And you wrote this down, right? And so tell us a little bit about...
Well, I would write things like, I'm an abundant, successful artist. I create art that I love, that I'm really proud of, that connects with people. My art, I share it. It's quite hard to do it, actually, unless you're actually writing it. But it's always in the present tense. So it's not I will be, or I would like to be, or I want to be. There's never any wanting. It's just, this is how it is. And I make it quite non-specific, so I don't put time frames. I don't kind of say, this has happened within this period of time. It's just, you just talk about it as if it's happening right now. But it's not, I don't know, it's not, I'm not saying things like, I've got a fast car, because these things actually don't mean anything to me. I'm not really interested in those things. So I write about, my family, and I will write about how they're happy and healthy and how we have good relationship. I'll write about, my home is comfortable, and, it's more to do with those kind of things. I'm not saying, oh, I earn this amount of money, or I have, these kind of trappings. I don't, but I'm not saying that's wrong. If that means something to somebody, then yes, do that. But you don't say I want to have, because your unconscious mind takes everything very literally. And if you say I want to, your unconscious mind will do what it can to keep you in that state of wanting.
Instead of being present and living in the present. It's so hard to do. It's easier said than done.
It is.
I think we all either dwell in the past or are looking for the future, but it's hard to live in the present. And I think from what I'm gathering from you is to write in the present.
That is so important. So my husband and I are, I'm just going to say wanting to, because we are actually wanting to, but I wouldn't write that in the morning pages. We are wanting to buy a little kind of cottage by the sea, little kind of holiday flat or cottage, whatever, by the sea. And so I would say we have a beautiful light-filled home with a view of the sea, even though we don't. But that's what I'll write in my morning pages. And it might happen, it might not happen, it might happen in 5 years' time. It doesn't really matter. But it's just about, that's something that would be really meaningful for me to have that. But yeah, it's not actually happened. We don't actually have one. I talk about it as if we do.
But I know you wrote about, you're in a gallery and it happened. Like, I think that there's things that when you write things down and when you see them, and like you said, you're seeing them in a very different way, because it's not judgmental. It's not negativity. It's all present and affirmations and good things that you want out there in the life, in your life. And so it's not going to come back and say, well, I wrote this a year ago and I thought I would be in a gallery now, and oh my God, I'm not. So it's not about that.
No. And it's just, I don't know, like sometimes somebody is, they're kind of like planning something and people say, oh, don't get excited because it might not happen. And you think, why not get excited? If it doesn't happen, at least you've had the pleasure of being excited about it. So I don't really subscribe to that, be excited. But the thing that happens when you do morning pages is that weird things happen, like weird kind of synchronicities occur that go way beyond just the natural kind of, coincidences that happen in daily life. And they tend to, from my experience, they kind of come in waves. So you have a period of time where I can't even think of examples. my husband will say something to me and I turn the page of the book I'm reading and those words are actually written on the page. You know, that sort of thing. How did that happen? How did you even know that was there? Or certain words will come up in, like words that you don't normally hear will suddenly appear in about 4 different occasions in one day. You always get the parking space. Things just seem to flow. You know, you just seem to be in a kind of state of flow, like good things just seem to happen. And, you know, who doesn't want a bit of that, really?
Yeah, exactly.
So I wouldn't ever be stopping this.
I know it worked for you, and so then your husband was doing morning pages, and your
Yeah,
son started
and my
to
sister.
do them. And your sister, I mean,
and my sister and my son.
It's incredible. Your son, he's 23 years old, and
23, and he does them every morning now. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Somebody said my volume was low, but I'm hoping you can hear me. I'm sorry. So anyways, I'm mesmerized by this whole process that you got your son involved in doing it. And
yeah, he had a really tough time during lockdown. His work, I had an Airbnb flat that he used to clean, which he did it brilliantly. And that went when COVID came, so I didn't have that business anymore. And he also used to work for like doing security and things for kind of venues and gigs, and that of course went. So he went off and got himself a job cleaning a supermarket at like 5:30 in the morning, a half-hour cycle ride away from his house. It was really pretty grim, and I was really proud of him that he did that. But after a year, it was just taking its toll on him. So anything to help him to kind of, you know, cope better with that. And he started doing morning pages, and within a few days he'd messaged me to say, can you help me out with some cash, sort of thing. And I said, yeah. I said, funny you should say that, because I'm with your grandmother just now, and I'd been telling her that he'd been having a difficult time. She said, oh, let me help him. And she wrote out a cheque for really a lot of money. I said, so anyway, I've got a cheque for you for it was like £500 or something. And he was like, how does that happen? I said, that's the sort of thing that happens when you do morning pages, is that, I don't know, it's just like good things happen when you need it to happen. It's just, but I also think from doing them, I feel like I'm calmer, kinder, more generous, just more confident, so much more confident. And yeah, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but I just know that it works, and we do it. My husband and I sit up in bed every morning and do our morning pages.
That's incredible. Seriously, I think it's so inspiring, and I love the whole story. It's incredible. I think she wrote this book in the 70s, if I'm not.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was that long.
Or maybe. Well, no. She had 25 years. And they redid the whole book.
Yeah.
So at least 25 years. But
yeah,
don't quote me on this, but I think she started maybe thinking or doing things back then, and she is someone that I admire and I'm super inspired by, and listening to you makes me want to start mine, which I think I told you I have my friend Debbie and Laura who are going to join me in starting this. And I think it's fun to start it with a group of people. Do you agree? Like, it will be a fun thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is. And it's, I was talking to my friend Claire last night, and she was wanting to sort of find out more about it. And it's just one of these things that it just kind of spreads. I mean, that's why a lot of people, when you say morning pages, they know what you're talking about, whether they've had any experience of doing it or not, but they've heard about it. One of the things I would say is that get a nice pen, get a pen that you like writing with. I use these, they're called Uniball.
Oh, yeah.
And I buy them in bulk because we go through a lot of them. Because I think it's really important to, don't use a scratchy biro or something, use something that gives you a nice kind of flow. And expect to never be able to read your handwriting again, because that is...
Which I think when you told me that, I was so fascinated by it, because
I cannot read my handwriting.
You're writing so fast that it doesn't make any sense when you go back and look at what you're writing.
I can't read it. And that's why this is not the same as journaling, because I think journaling, people go back and they look at their journal. But I think if you're doing morning pages, the way that I understand that it's to be done is it's free writing. So it's just you are writing at this speed. So you don't think about what you're going to write and then write it down. You literally just, the thoughts just come through onto the paper, and there's no reason to read it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like a brain dump, and it just comes out, and that's it. So
it's like a meditation. It is. It's a
yeah, it
different
is.
kind of meditation.
Different kind of meditation, but really easy to do. I mean, the only thing I think that's difficult for some people would be making the time to do it. But we make the time to brush our teeth. We make the time to have our breakfast. You know, we make time for those things, and we get into the habit of doing them. My sister, she for years was a wedding photographer, an absolutely brilliant photographer, and of course weddings disappeared with COVID. So she has sort of transformed herself into a baby photographer and is doing absolutely brilliantly. And she said to me, I'm going to wait until the business is up running and then I'll do morning pages. And I was like, no, do morning pages now, and then the business will flow. And that's exactly what's happened. So she does them as well. But one of the things that, and I don't know whether this works or not, I will, if somebody is struggling with something, I will write about them in my morning pages as if they have found a solution. Do you know what I mean? So if you said to me, oh, Caroline, I'm really struggling with X, Y, Z, I would write, you know, Sandra, and I would say that this thing has resolved for you.
Oh,
and I don't
I
know whether it
love
works or not,
that.
but it's just energy going out into the universe. So why
it's
not?
only helping yourself, but it's helping others. I absolutely love
well,
it.
You know, why not? You know, I just think, why not?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Are we out of time?
I can't believe this. Yes, we're out of time. But
I'm so nervous. Nervous.
You're amazing. You did amazing. You gave us so much food for our soul. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here.
And for what you are doing, Sandra, it's just amazing. It's been so wonderful such an honour to be included in this, I have to say, but also as an artist to be able to just do something that's actually going to be of real value to people. And I think the fact that the cost translates into meals, you know, it's the same number, isn't it? I think that's brilliant. So thank you for asking me, and all the best with it.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for being here and for staying here with me and for supporting this incredible project. It has been just a joy. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.